everybody, Chief Meteorologist Andrew Panero here, outside where the snow has officially begun here. You can see some snowflakes just starting there. We have salted our driveway, and I would definitely recommend salting your driveway or your sidewalks before the snow starts accumulating, which it looks like it's picking up just a little bit even in the middle of this recording. All right, so let's head into the studio on the green screen and let's talk all about this snowstorm that's coming. All right, so at the green screen here, so let's start taking a look at things. So first off, right around the New York City area, quite a lot of the pink there, which is the winter storm warning, and then in the bluish color there, that's winter weather advisories. Now let's take a look at the winter storm warning first here. Winter storm warning, so the biggest things in here. What? Heavy snow expected, total accumulations of 5 to 7 inches. That is in a very specific area we'll talk about once we get to the forecast models. I don't think everywhere is going to get 5 to 7 inches of snow. Portions of southern Connecticut, northeast New Jersey, and southeast New York. 1 p.m. this evening. It's 1:30 as of this recording, and it has begun. So that is correct. Roads and especially bridges and overpasses will likely become slick and hazardous. So this snow in combination with the cold temperatures coming in will cause icing as well. So that's something we definitely have to take a look at. So that is what the winter storm warning is showing. Let's take a quick peek at the winter weather advisory. Now my guess is, oh, interesting here. So when we're taking a look at this, higher snow totals, but they're not being specific. So on here, snow expected, total snow accumulations between 3 and 5 inches, which is a little bit less, but they are saying locally higher amounts of up to 6 inches. So I would have said that in just 3 to 6 inches of snow. So a little bit less, which is why it's an advisory. So that's right around the New York City area. Now let's take a look a little bit around the tri-state region, going a bit more north. This is kind of where we're also seeing this cutoff here. So that all that pink there, that's still the winter storm warning, which is what we just read through. Then a little bit more on the outskirts, that's your winter weather advisory. So that is still in that 3 to 5, maybe 6 inch snowstorm. But right there, that is kind of what we're talking about. In the pink there, that kind of strip, that's where the spine of this system really looks like it's going to be impacting. Going a bit more east, this is pretty much most of New England here. It's just a little bit along the coast, coastal Connecticut, going through Rhode Island, Massachusetts there. Once you get out to the Cape Cod area there's really nothing, no advisories. My guess is because that far east is away from the heart of the system, which is why most of the area all around there, even going a bit more west, up until that arced kind of spine is where we're seeing the heart of it, and then the outskirts are the advisories, and then here we're seeing nothing there. So that's kind of setting up with the way the advisories are looking, what this storm is going to look at. Now, the one thing I do want to bring up, specifically around the New York City area, just to get an idea, because this is kind of right on the cusp of both the winter storm warning and the winter weather advisories there. So the winter storm brings accumulating snow Sunday into Sunday night. Arctic air then comes in place after that. So winter storm warnings in effect through late Sunday, through much of the lower Hudson Valley, interior northeast, New Jersey, and southern Connecticut. Winter weather advisories in effect for the rest of the area. Now on the other side here, this is where we're seeing the lower Hudson Valley. That's where that 5 to 7 inches is actually coming from. And the other thing here, peak snowfall is showing 1 to 2 inches of snow per hour. That's quite a bit to accumulate. So that's kind of the gist of this storm. It's a fast-moving storm, but it's going to dump a lot of snow very quickly. Now going into the metro area, this is where here it's more of an advisory. This is saying 3 to 5 inches of snow. And that's really about it with the peak snowfall rates right down there. It looks like it's showing 1/2 inch to 1 inch per hour right in that line there. So This is where it's a little bit less, but still it's something to keep in mind that it's not going to be a good afternoon and evening today. So on the satellite here, I just wanted to show very quickly, this is quite a big system. So it almost looks like two systems are combining. So that low pressure center right up there, you can see the counterclockwise spin here in the northern hemisphere. That system has made its way out. That's what brought the showers through the area yesterday. But if we follow that line there all the way here, that's connecting to this next system making its way up here. Now that's quite a system. They're technically two separate systems, but on the satellite here, it looks like it's really just one. On the radar, underneath the clouds, we could see almost the same thing. Now the radar doesn't really extend too much where that low pressure is, but we can still see there's still some rain up there before the cold came in. And here, this is pretty much all snow. So I'm just going to bring up the radar scope app very quickly here. All right, so on here, we can see that line right here. This is pretty much right over New York City right now. That's kind of where it looks like the freezing line is. Right around there. Now, this is not showing any kind of icing that we're seeing on the cusp of that. My guess is because it's not cold, it's not drastically cold enough with that difference, that Arctic air is not coming in just yet. So that's why it's pretty much just going from rain to maybe a little freezing rain and not necessarily sleet, and then just snow. So north of the city, you're pretty much just in the snowy area. West of New York City, this is where we're seeing that transition, and then western New Jersey going into Pennsylvania, that's really where we're seeing all the snow. And then once we go a little bit more west of there, straight into Pennsylvania, let me bring that up here. My guess is we're not going to see any rain. And there we go. So right here, that is pretty intense snow there, and that is what's going to be making its way eastward towards us. So intense snow probably coming within the next, I'd say 3 to 6 hours from central Pennsylvania, going through New Jersey, New York, and then into New England. All right, now for the forecast model, starting on the good old tropical tidbits here. This is where we're seeing something quite interesting. The forecast models still aren't in alignment. So we are looking at the 12Z run from the GFS here. And right here, this is showing 18Z. Now, 18Z is 1 p.m. It's showing fairly accurate there. It's initializing, it's called. So this is initializing pretty well, which is a good thing. It's showing that line where we just talked about. So we're showing much warmer weather to the south and the east, where it's all rain and heavy rain there. And then much colder weather to the north and the west, with that kind of tilt that I was talking about with that spine of the system there. The GFS is initializing pretty well there, and it's showing it's gone very quickly. Basically 2 frames worth here. That is 12 hours here. So within 12 hours, this system's out of most of the Northeast there, only lingering a little bit into New England. Just 2 frames. That's all this really is. Now, switching over to the Euro, it's very interesting where, if I go to 18Z, that's not showing anything just yet. This is behind. Now, the track and that tilt still looks fairly accurate. So if I advance 1 frame, we really don't see that buildup, that switch over from that rain to snow around the New York City area that GFS was showing. Because this is later, it's just turning cold already. But all of this is very heavy snow, and that's making its way that way. And also, if you notice, both of them, the isobars are fairly close together, meaning wind. So we're going to have wind with this and that Arctic air coming in. So this is going to be a quick and intense storm. This one's lasting a little bit longer. This is a bit more than 2 frames. So this is going until 9Z. So 9Z in the morning. So that is 6, 7, 5 a.m. 5 a.m. it's showing the same picture as the GFS did. That's 6Z. So 6Z compared to 9Z, which is basically a 3-hour difference. The GFS here is 3 hours ahead in terms of time frame than the Euro is. That's where the two big forecast models are not in total agreement on the day of the storm, which is also something very concerning when trying to make a forecast, because nothing's really going to be reliable. So now let's go to the icon and let's see when it starts. So it's starting 21Z, which is going to be 4 p.m. there. It's also slightly different in terms of timing, but when we're looking here, that spine right there, that little area, that is still going up the same way, kind of at the same angle. That angle looks fairly similar, but again, the timing is a little bit off between all of these. That's going to advance. Let's see. Not really intense snow, but fairly steady snow. And this is 9Z, so it's almost the same picture there. So it looks like it does get into alignment, I think, with the Euro, where the Euro was saying by 9Z, it's kind of the same picture here, where it's clear up over there, and then over here, we're really seeing that heavier snow going into New England and just making its way out there. Switching over to the NAM. The NAM seems to be handling this the worst, though. So the NAM is a little bit different here. So we're looking at near surface reflectivity or simulated radar. So this is where we would actually see the start time versus the averages that we were seeing in the last couple of them. So right between here, this is between, let's say, 20 and 21Z. So that's between 3 and 4 p.m. It's showing it starting. So this is already initializing slow. But it's also showing that same angle, that same tilt right over there. Angle's about the same. So position also for the center of the low is fairly accurate. Maybe just a little bit off, but it's also all right near that 70-40 benchmark, which is the one that really gives the most snow. Actually, if I move the mouse over the low, we're at 70 and 38. 70-40, be right about there. And actually, some of the forecast models were showing the center of the low right there. So it's almost at the kind of like peak worst case scenario there for a position for the low. So this makes its way through, and it looks like also by 9Z, about the same picture here. So it's ending in alignment, it looks like, but the beginning is the tricky part. Isobars there, very intense, so that's showing very windy. And with the counterclockwise rotation that we see in the northern hemisphere, we're getting almost straight northerly winds coming down here. And that's also intense because you can see at the bottom of the frame there's a high, 1037 millibar high, and the low is right over here. So because those two are fairly close, that creates a pressure gradient, a tightening of the atmosphere there, and it makes more wind. All right, going into the NAM 3 kilometer. This also looks like it has a weird dropped frame in here that's off. But the start time on here is a bit more accurate. So this is saying 18Z right there. So in the tri-state area where I am, and you saw at the beginning of the video, this a little bit of snow starting. This is a little bit more accurate. So the 3 kilometer NAM and the 12 kilometer NAM are different. So advancing through there, intense periods of snow, the isobars get thick, or get the pressure gradient gets tight there. And then this is 6Z. So this same-ish picture there at 6Z is more in line with the GFS than the Euro. So it's very interesting. We're setting up these kind of two camps. And this picture is also very similar, where it's just going out through the north, through New England there. And then before sunrise, it looks like it's pretty much gone. But we can see in here the cold air advection, and you very much see it. Let's see if we go right over New Jersey here. So right there where I have the mouse, we have the isobar and the iso, or the isotherm. You kind of think of it that way. It's the thickness line. It's not a temperature line. It's not, the 540 is not the freezing line, but we can see they're almost at a 90-degree angle. When those are at a 90-degree angle, basically perpendicular, that is the strongest you're going to see for any temperature advection. So here, because of that low and it's spinning counterclockwise, we're having the winds come down from the north. We're having cold air advection, cold air coming in, and it's going to be very strong, it's telling us, because that's nearly at a 90-degree angle. So very strong winds coming in with cold air. Moving on here, the HRRR. Now this one was very interesting because it seemed to be the most accurate with the initialization than any of the forecast models. So right there, we're seeing that mixing of some snow right around New York City, but then north of New York City, just barely there, it's snow. That's pretty accurate. Now let's look through this. That's showing some waves of intense snow that could make its way even. It's showing there right over Long Island, some icing happening. And then this picture here is showing about 6Z. So that's the same picture. So this is in line a bit more with the GFS, which was the one that initialized better than the Euro. So here, isobars fairly close, making its way out. So Monday's gonna be a cold day, but by 10Z, this is still before dawn. This is 5 a.m. 5 a.m., that's almost out of the picture. So by your Monday morning commute, it looks like it's really going to be just cleanup at that point from the road crews and watching out for any ice. The actual storm itself will be gone. All right, now let's take a look at some of the snow totals. So from the GFS here, this is kind of what I'm saying with this following the winter storm warning and that kind of spine area. The pinks there are that 3 to 6 inch with the locally higher. There's some 5s in there. There's a 5 and a 4. So most of this is around 5 to 8 inches in that darker purple there. And then you're getting the 8+ up into New England, going into Canada a little bit there. So that's what the GFS is saying. Here's the Euro. Now remember, the Euro was slower and less intense, which it shows here with the snow map. So now the snow map here, it looks like it's only showing, especially right down in here, 2 to 3 inches of snow. And then once you get a little bit more down in here, that's where the higher snow totals are, but it's underplaying this. So any of the models that were in line with the Euro, I would pull away my confidence with, because this is definitely underplaying it with that timing. All right, so Icon snow totals, remember, the Icon did align with the Euro, and that is pretty much what we're seeing here. These snow totals, they're fairly low, 2-3 inches. Going into the NAM here, the NAM was interesting because the 12-kilometer NAM and the 3 were different. So here, it's showing the spine of this system. It's really in the right angle, but the intense snow is just concentrated right around here, right around the Vermont, New Hampshire area. And then once you get a little bit more outside of Maine, there's another spot right there. But overall, for the New York City area, 3 to 6 inches. Now let's switch over here to the 3-kilometer NAM. Now this was interesting because this was aligned a little bit better, or initialized a little bit better. But the totals here aren't looking very high. Totals here are really like 2 to 6 inches. Some little spotty parts in that middle of the spine there, but that's really about it. And then the last one here, which again, the HRRR seemed to be the most accurate with initialization. This is the one I'm putting most of my confidence in. So it's showing that spine right around New York City. We do have a little bit of the pinks and the purples. That is showing 5 and 6 inches of snow. 5 about there, 6 right about there. So this right there, that's what I'm thinking is the most accurate. Overall for the area, 3 to 6 inches, where some of the area could see 5 to 8 inches. So it's not a big snowstorm, but it's something that can cause a bit of a nuisance. Now, last couple little things here. This is a very important time to get your weather radios ready. If you don't have one, you actually should have 2. That was just a quick joke. But anyway, you should have something that has a NOAA weather radio capability in it. Now you can use my affiliate link below, bettersaferadio.com, and in there you can get emergency communication radios, whether they be ham radios like this, GMRS radios, or just any of those that you want, but also they come pre-programmed, which is nice. Mark at bettersaferadio.com pre-programs all of these, and they have the NOAA weather radio frequencies built in. So what is it saying right now?
Waves around 2 feet. Here is the tide information.
So we're on the tide information right now. So it cycles through land and marine weather forecasting. But this is good to have in case you lose power. Then you may not have the internet. Cell towers. Cell tower might lose power, or the cell network might just go down. So if you have no internet, you have no cell phone, this is a good backup. Now, if you reference, I have shorts that I put up earlier, or not early in the year, last year now, for how to prepare for a storm. That is something that you should definitely take a look at that playlist. There's a lot of great information in there in the short format. All right, so that's a wrap for this video, everybody. This is Chief Meteorologist Andrew Pinero. Please stay safe. Check back on the channel frequently because I will have updates throughout the day today. Little shorts. I might go live, so definitely check back for that. Stay safe out there, and I will see you all in the next video.